Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 286 of your favourite Formula 1 show. Yes, Knowing Wheel is back, and today we are here to talk about the first race of the all-new generation of F1 cars. It was a little bit controversial, there were some interesting moments, I think there's still a lot to be desired, but of course over the next 45 minutes or so, we will be going through all of that with my regular co-host. It's Jamie183. How are we doing, sir?
Doing well, yes. F1 is back. We were here. We made it to the new era. And it was all right, wasn't it? That's kind of my takeaway.
It was
you know what?
decent.
It was better than I expected.
Interesting, okay.
But my expectations were pretty low. So.
I feel like, we kind of... maybe as we kind of explained, obviously, going through the winter as well, didn't we? Because we've been F1 fans now for, basically 20 years. Which is slightly alarming. You kind of become almost like, I think a lot of... I'm not like saying this is just new fans more recently, but I think when you're a newer fan, you just assume that the next big reg cycle is going to make things better. Like, why would Formula 1 ever make things worse? And actually, as you become older and wiser and maybe more cynical, you kind of realise actually that every reg cycle they're ever going to do is going to come with its own unique set of problems.
Yeah, and teams are there to win. So if things come along that change the order and mean that there's a new set of rules to understand in order to win, whatever they're changing, teams aren't going to like it.
No, exactly. I mean, obviously we did speak last week about quite a few things, Jamie, but of course in typical Knowing Wheel fashion, we recorded the Australia preview show, and then an absolute bombshell came out, didn't it, from Aston Martin, which obviously, a lot of other people and media sources spoke about at the end of last week, but... I think from obviously getting through this first weekend and obviously talking about everything going on, Aston Martin are like completely just in an absolute mess, aren't they? But it does also help to explain why Red Bull Powertrains is doing all right.
Does it?
Yes. Because
How?
obviously...
Explain.
Well, first of all, obviously the big storyline was obviously the Aston Martin drivers because the car was vibrating so badly, were at risk of nerve damage. Now obviously that did get... Fixed is too strong. But mitigated, I think is the best word to use, as we went into the weekend. So, I mean, spoiler alert, Lance Stroll actually got to the checkered flag, admittedly with some caveats, but that's the first of my bold predictions. So thank you very much.
I'm not sure. Plus 12 laps, wasn't it?
I said he'd see the checkered flag. He saw that checkered flag, and it was 15
Fernando
laps,
saw
by the
it
way.
from the garage as well.
That doesn't matter.
Plus 12, he's not even classified, is he?
I made sure I didn't say finish. I said saw the checkered flag for exactly
That's
that
ridiculous.
reason. I'm having that. And
so I could have seen the checkered flag if I was like walking around for 58 laps.
Well, you wouldn't have walked around for 58 laps, but yeah.
No,
the
but I could have got
sense.
one lap in, probably. 1 or 2.
It's only 3 miles. I'd hope in an hour and a half you could get probably, even if you were walking, at least a lap and a half, 2 laps in.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely place to walk around, Jamie, as well. I will say that from experience.
Never been.
Anyway, back to Aston Martin, though. Obviously, absolutely mad, wasn't it? The other report that came out. People were kind of mainly focused on the nerve damage. I was more fascinated by the fact, obviously, that when the 2021 engine, or into 2022 engine kind of stagnation rules came in, 70% of Honda's engine workforce basically either got moved to other projects or Red Bull Powertrains took them and many other things. So... Between when they announced the partnership with Aston Martin in Miami of 2023, it took until November of last year from anybody at Aston Martin to actually go over to Honda and take a look at how the engine development was going and realise there was basically no one there.
Yeah, it's pretty poor, isn't it? It's really, really bad management. And Nui wasn't in team principal by then, was he? Because he had to do gardening leave for ages. So,
it was around then, wasn't it? I think. No, I think it was slightly earlier than that, wasn't it? Because obviously it was after Horner was gone, and I'm pretty certain Newey basically took the job so Horner couldn't.
Possibly. But yes, the fact that that's only 4 months ago is mismanagement purely, and it explains quite a lot of things. And yeah, I guess Alonso and Stroll getting nerve damage. It didn't happen, thankfully, but Alonso has been electrocuted by his car before, by another Honda engine.
Well, we think. We never know for sure. We
don't. But that's why he thinks he's a rookie in 2015, sorry. So he's still doing his career as if he started in 2015, I think.
Wonderful. But it is an incredible theory, isn't it? We have said before we'd love to do. If we had more time, we'd love to go down some rabbit holes. We normally do on every single episode.
Yeah, we do.
Some
Every
proper actual
episode without fail.
structured rabbit holes would be great to go through, wouldn't we? Let's get into the weekend then, Jamie. Of course, obviously, we're going to slightly try and change up the format this year. I think with the way we kind of talk about race weekends, rather than kind of just saying what happened. Everybody here's watched what happened. So saying, oh, this person got knocked out in Q1, of course. We'll kind of talk about the bigger storylines from each session and everything like that. But we kind of, I think, want to just talk more about kind of the overall effect of a weekend, don't we?
The storylines, the drama.
Exactly. And, well, Friday, and practice on the whole, we had a Merc fastest, we then had the Ferrari fastest, and then a McLaren fastest. But everybody was basically saying, yeah, we're going to get to qualifying, Mercedes is going to be ahead. And despite Antonelli absolutely stacking his car in FP3, which the team didn't... they got a little bit lucky with Max bringing out a red flag in qualifying, spoiler alert, but the team did an incredible job getting that car ready, didn't they? Ready for qualifying.
You know what? When I spoil it, I didn't go up for qualifying.
Neither did I watched the highlights.
But I watched the highlights of qualifying before I watched the highlights of free practice. When I saw how bad Antonelli crashed, I was amazed that he got him out.
Yeah, it is staggering.
Yeah, pretty incredible stuff. And he did very well in qualifying, considering he had no FP3 as well.
No, exactly. Exactly. Obviously, it's straight into qualifying then. Alonso almost was the hero. We got this incredible, disappointing bit of commentary from Crofty. Where he's like, oh, Alonso's made it into Q2, and everyone's going, well, Colapinto's still on a lap and green. Which, there's an argument to be said about how much longer a few of these Sky commentary team are going to be there, I think. But we
By
had
the way,
oh, sorry.
I would say this is the most stacked Q1 exit list ever.
Got to be right up there, hasn't it?
It was mental. Like, every driver in that list is a pole sitter. 5 out of 6 are race winners.
Yeah.
And obviously, you've got 2 multiple world champions.
Yep.
As well.
Yeah, it was absolutely
Crazy.
mad, wasn't it? Obviously, Alonso narrowly missed out. Sainz and Stroll didn't do laps. Obviously, Verstappen literally got his first lap. The car broke down, which we'll talk about in a second. And then the other 2 was Bottas and Perez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 6 drivers.
5 winners.
There must be, what,
sitters.
100 wins in that? Not quite. No. What's Max on?
No, it's got to be
100
over
wins.
100, yeah. Max is at mid-60s, isn't he? Or high 60s.
Alonso's
Is he in the 70s?
mid-20s.
Yeah.
No, he is in the
Bottas
70s,
obviously had
isn't he?
10.
Because win number 69 was at Kota last year and he was making a big thing of it, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, Perez and Bottas are on about 15 between them, aren't they? So that's probably 100 race wins in Q1.
Yeah. Madness. Absolute madness. Obviously, the big storyline from that, though, wasn't it? Was literally on his very first run, turn 1. Obviously, Max just immediately got spat into the gravel, wasn't it? It seemed like a bit of a weird one. It was, obviously, because originally when I looked at it, I was like, don't say dip a wheel on the grass, because that would have been embarrassing from Max. But it was just either battery recovery issue or something failed on the back of the car. It
steps on the brake
driver
and
error.
the rear axle locked immediately, so there's absolutely nothing you can do. I do wonder, obviously, because they said nothing technically like changed on the car, so maybe it was to do with being at higher speed than he had been in practice with the higher battery modes and stuff for qualifying. I don't know, but I reckon had he known that obviously he could have mitigated that spin had he known it was going to happen, but obviously he didn't. So I don't want to say it was a driver error, but nothing technically changed on the car. He just pressed the brakes and it spun. So
yeah, my only other theory, of course, was whether it was down to obviously how much more you now recharge the battery, because obviously the way the engine brake, the way the braking now works, of course, is that you get more performance when you've got obviously less charge in the car. Whether it was obviously just because he obviously started a lap, so had basically an entire battery. Whether obviously he hit the brakes, it reached 100%, and obviously then he just didn't have the braking performance anymore. And obviously the car just comes around. Because of course we know Max likes to run a car pretty trimmed out anyway, obviously on the rear end. Whether as soon as obviously you lose any of that braking potential, whether it just spat him out immediately. But yeah, that was a huge storyline from Q1. Obviously Q2 we then had Bortoletto, who on his debut, can we just say, very, very good job, which obviously we'll talk about more as we get into the race as well. Spoiler alert. But obviously made Q3 on debut, and then the car broke down on the run back to the pit lane at the end of Q2, which is a shame.
Yeah, I believe it was Limblad right behind him who almost crashed into him and did a massive crash into pit entry. There were two V-carbs right behind him.
Lawson
so did quite well.
kind of followed him in, and Lindblad almost wiped them both out, which would have been not a good look.
Yeah, but the Audi looks good. I'm excited for this season. Although Hulkenberg didn't get to start the race, that was a bit sad. That was like the instant I woke up. Obviously, you see Piastri's in the wall, and then Hulkenberg's getting wheeled off the grid. It's like fantastic.
you woke up slightly earlier than me then, because I literally turned the TV on as the formation lap begun.
Oh, really?
So I was like, where's Piastri? What's happened to Hulkenberg? What's going on? I was very, very confused at 2 minutes past 4 this morning. But I mean, it was obviously, with the exception of Max, your big four teams, both V-carbs making it through, which kind of, I wouldn't say came out of nowhere, but I think was a little bit of a surprise. But of course, Australia isn't the best representative of what is going to be a normal track this year. And obviously, like we said, the Audi of Bortoletto making it through. So obviously, after we'd hyped up the Alpines and the Haas cars, none of them made Q3, which was a little bit of a surprise. But the overarching storyline throughout all of qualifying, wasn't it, was that George Russell had a couple of tenths over Antonelli, and Antonelli had a big gap over everybody else. Yeah. Mercedes dominated. George took pole, I think, by 3 tenths. Hadjar ended up third. Brilliant effort by Isaac on debut for Red Bull as well. Because let's be fair, Max was only going to put that car third anyway.
Yes, although it was George 3 tenths to Antonelli, and then another. Was it 4 tenths? 5 tenths back?
Half a second, yeah.
So, based on Verstappen's performance against teammates in the last 5-6 years, he could have been mixing it with Antonelli. I don't want to say he would have been, but we will see. I'm excited for what Max can actually do when his car doesn't destroy itself in the first run.
Well, yeah, there is. It will be interesting to see. Because obviously Antonelli was still a bit on the back foot as well.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
whether this is literally the new Ham-Bot Ver is Russ and Ver.
Well, I don't think it's going to be Hadjar often in third place, I'll be honest.
Hey, you never know. You never know. We said it with Seb in 2014 with Ricardo, and I know we've talked about this before on the show. And
we both made our predictions a week ago and said that Hadjar's going to be 8th or 10th. So.
Well, yeah, we did also say that. You said 10th though, so I suppose I'm not closer at the moment.
He's currently 20th, so I'm doing quite well.
Fair enough. Moving on though, obviously into race day Sunday. A lot of hype, a lot of anticipation, a lot of tiredness in our part of the world, I'm sure. I would always be intrigued to know just how many people did get up for the Grand Prix. But as previously just mentioned there, the Australian curse continues, Jamie.
I find this stat astonishing that no Australian driver has finished on the podium and kept it after not being disqualified. Like, that is a mad stat considering how many good Australians there's been in the last 40 years of F1.
And how many good Melbourne. Cars they've had as well.
Yeah. Because like Mark Webber's been top 3 in the championship twice in that time. Piastri obviously top 3 last year, top 4 the year before. Yeah, he stacks it on the way to the grid, and it was a complete driver error. He looked so dejected afterwards.
Was it though?
Yeah. Well, he said it was a combination of factors, but again, nothing on the car fundamentally changed.
Well, they reckon it had a huge torque spike.
Not huge. Zach Brown on Sky Sports said there was nothing wrong with telemetry.
Yeah, but that's also Zach Brown. They said but when he doing the interview mid-race, he said they needed to look at the telemetry.
Maybe. He said in post.
You're just a Piastri cynic, aren't you?
I'm not. It was you remember when Seb Vettel crashed in the race in 22 in the Aston Martin?
Yeah.
And Nakajima crashed in 2009.
Yeah.
At the same corner. It was basically that, where you put a wheel on the curb, you've got more power than you expect, so you get wheel spin, and you ram.
He shouldn't have put the car there on a warm-up lap.
On a run to the grid, yeah.
Did seem a bit insane to me, but apparently it did also give him a load more power than he was expecting. But either way, he ended up in the wall, and it meant, the Australian curse continued. Which, like I said, I was so confused when I turned on the Grand Prix. I was like, where is Oscar? Surely McLaren haven't already had a parts failure. But turns out it was a part, the flesh,
the driver.
Soft bit with the brain, in the middle of the car that failed in that moment. But of course, then we got onto the start, Jamie. Can we talk quickly about that 5 red lights or 4 red lights?
Oh, you know why this happened, don't you? Because, so obviously, in Bahrain, we saw this clip of the Ferraris going crazy off the start with a short hold. They've put in this blue light bit where everyone gets to spin their turbos up. But the guys in charge of F1 obviously prefer a bit of chaos for the start because everyone's watching and it's the first race of the new era. So they held the lights for as little time as they possibly could.
I mean, it was literally the fifth red light went on and then it went out. Wasn't it? Like almost instantly.
I saw a stat that was like on most TV monitors, it was not even a frame on your like 50 hertz monitor because it went out that quickly. So yeah, they were just doing it for the chaos because the shorter the hold, the less everyone's, or the more variety you get in people's turbo ability. So that's why. And I mean, it paid off for Ferrari, didn't it? Let's get straight into that.
Yeah, I will put money now then on Shanghai. For one of the two races, there will be a ridiculously long hold now.
Yeah.
On the other side of this.
100%. Yeah, just to kind of balance it
Because
out.
we believe in the conspiracy. We're cynical here on Known Wheel. We know what Formula One's like.
Yeah, and I mean, it did give us the chaos, absolutely. So Charles Leclerc, I mean, Antonelli got off to a terrible start.
It's staggering though. He didn't hit the anti-stall. He wheel span, which is quite impressive.
Yeah, he dropped to about 6th or 7th, didn't he? So, yeah, Charles Leclerc from 4th on the grid with that OP Ferrari start was straight into the lead at Turn 1, which I was actually quite excited for because I didn't expect this for myself, but I'd rather see Leclerc win than George Russell. Which
fascinating.
I'm not a fan of either driver, but for whatever reason, I was well behind Leclerc. I mean, everyone's a Ferrari fan at the end of the day, aren't they? So,
well, yeah, some of us are forced into it for another year, but actually, to be fair, it seems more positive already than last year. So I'm not going to complain too much. But I mean, yeah, like you said, obviously Leclerc, brilliant start, 4th to 1st with a bit of a brave move into Turn 1. I thought Hadjar was going to have the lead. He got a bit unlucky on the run into Turn 1.
He did. I mean, Leclerc just sent it, didn't he? I think Hadjar was probably conscious.
Hadjar got slowed down by Russell, which basically invited Leclerc through, didn't he, in the end?
Yeah. Hamilton almost got up to 2nd or 3rd as well, didn't he? And then ran a bit wide on the exit from 7th on the grid, although effectively 6th because Piastri wasn't there. Good opening lap. Liam Lawson didn't go anywhere from his 9th on the grid, 8th on the grid, wasn't it? Yes. And he almost got absolutely destroyed by Franco Colapinto. That was pretty fortunate. And I see people crediting Colapinto, and he does deserve some credit.
Oh, he
but
does.
It was so lucky.
Have you seen the slow-mo from in front?
Oh, yeah.
He's insane the way he treads the needle. Honestly, I genuinely think might be the first time Colapinto, honestly to me, has proven that he deserves to keep an F1 seat. It's the first bit of properly kind of instinctive skill I've seen him use. And
he
is very
a
impressed.
Professional racing driver at the end of the day, so he's decent. He's got good reaction time.
Fair enough. I mean, it was what made me chuckle as well with that, though, was, of course, obviously, Sky never mentioned it. It was not talked about once throughout the entirety of the race.
Did we?
Yeah, but it was shown on the replay. You could see it on the replay. It was a replay that you wanted to watch. There was, again, maybe buying into the conspiracy here, there was definitely, unless there was a huge shunt, I'm sure F1 went round and went, anybody gets a slow start, unless there's a big crash, you don't talk about it.
Don't draw attention to it.
Exactly.
And the same with the lift and coast on the quali laps, which was absolutely horrific to watch. We skipped over that. But you barely saw onboards in quali because they didn't want to show everyone Lycoing on
losing 40 kilometres an hour down the back straight.
Yeah. But fair play. I mean, Lawson's race was ruined because obviously he was 8th on the grid and was then last, basically, because of this anti-stall.
Yep.
And then we got into a bit of action and probably, easily the best part of the race for any neutral viewers.
Yeah, I think for any viewer, it was a pretty good part of the race, wasn't it? Incredibly lucky that it did happen. Obviously, basically, people have described it like Mario Kart, haven't they, between Leclerc and George? And although it was, in
Charles
theory...
Leclerc described it as Mario Kart.
Yeah, although in theory, obviously, it was a very, very good battle, and you're there going, well, if we get more of these, it'll be fantastic. It was just completely down to the fact that they just kept swapping who was having to charge and who was having to use battery. So it was basically just constantly one against the other. Which is better than... I think it's a horrible thing, isn't it? A lot of people are going, oh, well, it's not really racing because they're all having to do this. It's better than nothing, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, exactly. I would rather them swapping positions in a little bit of a cartoonish way than
nothing at all.
Then exactly, George Russell just leading every lap and Charles Leclerc can't get near him. So I didn't mind it at all. I think what I do like is you get more variability in where the overtakes happen, because obviously in previous years it's just DRS, and DRS is limited to the straights where you can have DRS, which albeit has become more and more straights over the time. But
it is kind of mad, isn't it, when you think that the idea of having 2 DRS zones on a circuit when it first came in was
mental.
Heinous, and now Australia last year had 4.
Yeah. And I also like that, because DRS, I don't know, it doesn't quite give you that same boost off of corners. Obviously, it's better at your top end, but you had to be pretty close for DRS to be effective. The boost, I do think, is a little bit too much, to be honest, but it means that you get overtakes in places you wouldn't expect. So, like, out of turn 11 down towards the 11-12 chicane towards turn 13, that was a place that was quite popular for overtaking. And in previous years, I'm not sure we've really seen DRS overtakes there at all, unless it's a massive car mismatch.
Yeah.
So,
and it's obviously also that double whammy as well, of course. Obviously, if you've used more battery to try and get past someone, it then also allows you to brake slightly later because you'll get more braking performance.
Yeah.
Which is kind of mad
to
think about.
You're going at a higher speed, so you maybe have to brake a bit earlier. That was a really interesting one where Russell got through at turn 3 a few laps in.
Yes, yeah.
Where Russell boosted, was on the inside line, broke fairly early because he was obviously going at a higher speed. And Leclerc, who was like nowhere on the straight, was suddenly back alongside in the braking zone
around the outside.
Because he broke so late, because he wasn't going anywhere near as quickly. So, I didn't mind it at all. I do think by the end of the race, it had potentially settled, and we saw that a bit with the Norris-Verstappen battle late on. But the first 10 laps were brilliant. And I was encouraged that the Ferrari, when it settled down a bit, Leclerc did have Russell at an arm's length. So that was good for the season, because I expected Mercedes to just walk away, especially when Russell got past on lap 2. I was like, well, that's that then.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, Charles Leclerc did a great job.
Yeah, no, it was very, very good, wasn't it, early on, like we said. It's maybe not, obviously, it's one of those horrible things, isn't it? Because, I mean, you said you watched a little bit of Formula E now. I don't know if you've seen kind of races from a couple of years ago with, like, the Peloton racing, which is just overtakes everywhere. There is definitely, because obviously F1 put out a graphic at the end of the race. Obviously, last year saw 45 overtakes at Albert Park. This year saw 120. There is a big, big difference between having a lot of overtakes and having, like, overtakes with any value still.
Exactly.
And obviously, I think Australia will be one of those circuits where you kind of get that offset more towards there's a lot of them happening rather than a lot of good ones happening. But first race in new regs, it could have been a whole lot worse, I think, in that regard.
It could have been. It doesn't remind me, like you say, the Peloton, where, like, in the Tour de France or in the Olympic cycling and stuff, you basically have the driver or the cyclist in the lead of the pack is basically cycling for the other people. So they're using more of their physical energy. And then towards the end of a race, they will just back off and let the guy who is leading the team, so
the
for
sprinter
instance,
basically come through.
The sprinter would come at the end. And then, yes, it's like 4 overtakes because the sprinter's been running 4th the whole time. And then they're meant to, like, go ahead and win. But, yeah, I don't know if I love it yet. But I think it'll be interesting if we get to, like, let's say last year, for instance, if it's the 2 McLarens against Max, the 2 teammates can use their battery really tactically, which I think would be quite interesting.
Well, that's what I was going to talk about early on as well, because I was kind of hoping, once Hamilton pulled off that incredible double overtake on a Hadjar and Lindblad, yes, my king is back, and I am all the happier for it.
P4?
Yeah, I'm taking. I was half a second behind Leclerc at the line. I'm taking it. First race of the season.
Well,
I
still got
thought
fewer podiums with a Ferrari engine than Hulkenberg has. But
yeah, give it about another 6 races. I'm going to say, and have more.
I reckon give it 2.
Oh, you reckon he's podium in the next 2 races?
He's done very well in Melbourne. To be fair, Hamilton will win a race this year.
Please do it, Lewis, do it. But I mean, yeah, this is what I was going to say. Obviously when Lewis, because obviously you had this Leclerc and George battle early on, didn't you? Hamilton then got that beautiful double overtake round the outside of Hadjar and then down the inside of Lindblad. And it was as these two kept squabbling every lap, Lewis would just get a bit closer and a bit closer and a bit closer. Yeah. And he was right with them early on, obviously in the race. It was then, I still think maybe a bit cynical again. I still think there was an element of George kind of played with them a little bit, got in front, and then was kind of like, Mercedes will be strategic with this. They will not go at maximum attack. They will have pace held back in the locker that they will use when they need to. I don't believe that car was running at its full potential this weekend.
I disagree in the first stint, though, because, yeah, if you got the fastest car, you're going to, if you're in the lead, you're not going to make your gap 30 seconds. But he wasn't. The whole first stint, Leclerc was the one in the lead until the virtual safety car. So I think if George... there was a genuine risk that he didn't win that race because Leclerc was in the
Ferrari
lead.
Strategy.
Well, exactly. You can always bank on that. But I think in that first stint, that was a genuine, both drivers going for it, both cars operating at the top level they could. And
maybe I'm
Charles Leclerc was leading.
Maybe I'm leading the race. Still. I still think Mercedes just... A bit like they did in 2014 through 16. Just keep some pace back when you need to bring a bit more. You bring in a little bit more.
But they never messed about with other teams, though, did they? They always had other teams.
They accidentally did in Austria. They were livid that Williams got pole.
Yeah, but then in the race, they still got a 1-2 quite easily.
It's because they then turned the engines back up.
Well, exactly. But I think if George Russell wanted to dominate, he would have done. And I'm not sure the car was there in the first stint, certainly, to do that.
Yeah, maybe we view that one still slightly differently. Of course, obviously, early on as well, one of the other big highlights was obviously Alonso on lap 1 going from 17th to 10th, admittedly helped by the fact there were 2 cars not there. 17th to 10th, and then pretty much just immediately rockets back down the... Yeah, I'm pretty certain he lost the places quicker than he gained them at the start.
It felt like that, didn't it? He was just 10th on lap 1, and then before you check again, he's back in 18th, only ahead of the Cadillacs. So, yeah.
And even then, I don't think he was ahead of them for very long.
He was incredibly positive in the driver interviews afterwards. He was, giving it large about his 25-year-old experience, given that, 25 years in the sport, which is quite mad.
25 years since he started. Yeah, it's taken a little bit of time.
Yes, yeah, he has.
Which is absolutely insane to think about, had he not taken any breaks. How many?
Well, he wouldn't still be here if he hadn't taken any breaks.
Well, yeah, that's also true. But yeah, obviously, unfortunately then, Jamie, I say, one of the absolute stars early on in the weekend, Isaac Hadjar, in typical Red Bull second driver fashion. He said in an interview after the race, I don't know if you've seen this, but he was like, as soon as he got out of turn 1, he was like, the same the car made, he was like, I know this isn't going to work. He said it was like driving an Australian supercar after that. He had no deploy.
Wow.
It felt like a boat. He was like, he basically knew from then the engine was going to go bang at some point. He just didn't know exactly when it was going to go bang. But it didn't take long. It was about lap 10?
Yeah, lap 10, I think. And it was a proper old school pop, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of V10 era. Yeah. So that was a shame. He was quite a long way off the Ferraris and Mercedes. Well, it was just one Mercedes at that point. Or was Antonelli through? I think Antonelli might have been 4th by then.
Antonelli was still behind him, I'm pretty certain at that point. Antonelli did have quite a slow rise back up through the pack early on.
Yeah, he did. But it was a shame for Red Bull Powertrains to obviously lose their leading car. But that's how it goes sometimes. And this race won't define his Red Bull career. So he actually did quite well to obviously get 3rd and be running as high as 4th for the opening stint of the race. So fair play, Isaac Hadjar.
And I think would have been even more depressing had he got the lead early on.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that caused the virtual safety car, which Mercedes, being the switched-on team that they are, immediately chose to use with George Russell. And when Ferrari didn't pit either car, given that for the first 10 laps I was supporting Charles Leclerc, I was like, how do people do this? How on earth do people support Ferrari full time? It must be so annoying.
It's so painful. I remember when Hamilton was going to Ferrari, and I was speaking to Last 2 and 2 about it, because obviously she has been a Ferrari fan for many years. And I was like, I'm not sure I really want to do this. And she went, no, you don't. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's wonderful news.
You're absolutely right. You don't want to support Ferrari.
You're bob on. Your instinct is true. You do not want to be a fan of Ferrari. Congratulations, 2017, 2018 are back. Cars might be fairly similar on pace, just Mercedes are way better at execution.
Exactly. And it was just the obvious thing to do, because the top 3 was so far ahead of everyone else by that point.
You were at no risk.
Russell pit and came out 10 seconds behind. Yeah, exactly. Pit one of them. I mean, Lewis said that on the radio, didn't he? He said,
Yeah.
you should have picked one of us, and he's
Yeah.
bang on. I just think...
let
I
Hamilton
think
just do the strategy.
they doubted their ability to get to the end on hards from lap 17.
That was their concern.
To be fair, Max Verstappen started on the hard tyres. He had already started graining by by this point in the race. And so therefore you kind of think maybe they were right to think they wouldn't get to the end. But Mercedes looked like they were fine. There was no
Mercedes
doubt.
had a load of pace in the back locker, Jamie.
But their tyres are still going to wear, no matter how...
Not if you're not pushing them.
But then they're still driving faster than Ferrari were on their new tyres, or driving as quickly as at the end of the race. So
yeah, but that's like saying if you went round in an F1 car at 70% pace, or you went round in an F3 car on F1 tyres and maximum attack, you're still going to use more tyre.
yeah, I suppose you're not on the limit of grip, are you, if the car's got more potential?
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting. But both Mercedes pit, which was absolutely the right thing to do, and the Ferraris didn't, and gave away 10, 11 seconds of race time.
Yep.
And in the end, Charles Leclerc was only 15 seconds off the win. So
Well, obviously, let's not forget about the fact we then had yet another VSC later on when Bottas broke down on pit lane
no,
entry.
to be fair, they couldn't.
They had an opportunity the first time round.
They didn't. They didn't.
Oh no, they were already past the pit lane, weren't they? To be fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, they didn't get a chance there, but.
Bottas broke down on the pit entry, basically.
Yeah.
A few drivers got in, so I think Verstappen got in, or maybe the V-Carb, or one of the... What's he called? Lindblad? That's the new one. And
generic V-Carb driver number 604.
exactly. Sebastian Buemi got in the pits. But yeah, the Ferraris were already past the pit lane, and then by the time they got back around, the pit lane was closed. So they couldn't... To be fair, I'm going to correct you there, because they couldn't take that.
No, that's fair enough. I for some reason in my head thought right towards the end of the VSC it was opened again. They wouldn't have got the full effect of a cheap pit stop, but they might have saved a couple of seconds.
Possibly.
But ultimately it made no difference, and Ferrari then would pit under green later on, and basically consign their fate to third and fourth.
Yeah. And everyone's saying that Mercedes won too. Boring, whatever. I think had Ferrari done the right thing and pit under the VSC, they would have easily been second and third, I think.
I think they would have given Antonelli a good fight. I'm not entirely sure whether they would have held on ahead of him, but
I think
it
you're
would
way
have
too
been
pessimistic.
interesting.
That Ferrari looked good in the first stint.
Yeah,
And I guess tyre wear would
cynical.
have had a role to play, because
maybe
it could have been
just-
true that Ferrari couldn't get to the end on hards. So
Yeah, they might have just taken more out of the tyres than Mercedes would as well.
There was a lot going on behind.
There was a lot going on. It was welcome back ground effect.
You know what? I want to give a little shout out to the little battle that we had between Ocon, Gasly, and Bortoletto, because they were battling the whole time.
Yeah.
And it was actually good because, like, as we said, it was a bit like the start where one driver uses their boost down towards turn 3, the other one uses it to turn 13, the other one's at turn 1. So you had these drivers swapping over loads. Obviously, you can't have Gasly and Ocon battling without a little bit of contact.
Oh, there's always got to be, some damage and a slight wing. A wing that is slightly out of kilter.
So Gasly ended up winning that battle against Ocon. This is what encouraged me a lot about Audi, is that Bortoletto, I want to say with about 15 laps to go, overtook both, like got ahead of both of those two drivers.
Yep.
And then by the end of the race, he was like 18 seconds ahead. I didn't know how it happened, but he was just rapid.
I think he was on slightly fresher tyres though, wasn't he, as well?
He was, but still, a second a lap over the Alpine and the Haas. It's not bad.
I guess it just depends on whether you're managing and stuff, doesn't it? But I mean, again, it is it was something I was going to talk about in a minute, obviously, when we got to the end of the race. On such a power-sensitive circuit, on your debut, Audi genuinely, in my head, when I looked back at this afterwards, I was like, they just did a quintessentially German F1 team first race of, you just finished quite decently. You just get the job done, there's no fireworks, you get to the end, you're back a couple of points, you don't set the world alight, but you have a pretty respectful result and it's a good groundwork to build on. Welcome back, BMW Sauber.
Exactly. And they're going to be winning races, 1-2 finish at Canada.
Yeah, they're gonna cost Hulk a shot at a world title in a few years.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, obviously that was going on. That wasn't the head of the midfield pack, sadly. But Ollie Behrman, what was it you said in pre-season? You want to see the death of Esteban Ocon or the downfall?
I think death of Esteban Ocon is a bit harsh. The
death of his
Ocon.
career.
Yeah.
because that started. Ollie Behrman put him in the shade
Yeah.
immediately in Australia.
Yeah.
Won the midfield battle ahead of Lindblad, who had a decent little battle. Lindblad did very well on his debut.
Lindblad, underrated drive, but I think that V-car was probably best of the rest this weekend.
I agree, because I don't think those two drivers are that high in calibre yet.
But he
Liam
had
Lawson
confidence. He had a lot of confidence in the
confident.
car. He had a lot of confidence wheel-to-wheel battling as well. I think what might have helped him slightly, of course, is these cars are way more similar, I would assume, on pace and grip to F2 than obviously last year's F1 cars.
Yeah, though the power delivery of them is very, very different.
Oh,
from F2.
yes, of course.
But Isaac Hadjar got a taste of the F2 cars because he blew up. So
Yeah, he got
that was good.
mecha-chromed by Red Bull somehow.
yeah, and Lindblad, he was getting his elbows out, wasn't he? He was very briefly third place on lap 1.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he fought Verstappen harder than I thought he would, given he's a Red Bull junior.
Yeah, I liked that. That was quite funny.
He was clearly just like, this is going to be on TV. I'm going to get my elbows out. It's like when you league race and you're like a pit stop down on the leaders.
Oh, yeah.
And you just think, this will be on stream. I'm just going to defend.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very old throwback for you, but yes.
There is no need for it, but you just think, oh, there's cameras. Let's do it.
Exactly. I might just crash into him, make myself feel better. He didn't do that, luckily. He did, yeah, I mean,
No.
for a debut race, it was very, very impressive from Lindblad, and I will be intrigued to see. I literally said as well to last 2 and 2 halfway through the race, I went, well, that's Liam Lawson getting sacked then, because Lindblad obviously instantly did better than him. He got a bit unlucky with the start, but...
Lawson did qualify ahead, and for all well, he could have been leading the race as well. Not leading the midfield battle, Lawson, if he hadn't had a bad start. So, yeah. You had Verstappen and Norris at the end. Last year's title rivals, obviously, battling for 5th, 30 seconds off the lead. Which was
once again, Norris came out on top.
In a faster car, yeah.
Hang on a minute, Hadjar qualified him. That Red Bull was
Yeah,
easily second fastest.
Max did start 20th, to be fair. He did a good
yeah.
job to get up to 6th.
He did. He also apparently had no battery on lap 1.
Really? That's
Yeah,
why he didn't make any ground.
Exactly, yeah.
Probably.
He basically said early on he had nothing, and then they sorted it out. And then obviously he was able to kind of carve his way through quite quickly. But I mean, we had obviously Mercedes 1-2, Ferrari 3-4. Like we said, Norris, the only McLaren in P5. Obviously, Max, the only Red Bull that got to the end as well in P6. Behrman, Lindblad, Bortoletto, and Gasly. So 4 cars from 4 different teams at the back end of that points haul as well. Gives us a bit of hope for the midfield. I think we were a bit concerned it was going to be incredibly strung out this year. But, yeah, actually gave us a bit of intrigue.
Well, we've already had, obviously, both Mercedes, both Ferraris, but then everyone else only had 1 car in the points.
Yeah.
So
8 different teams scoring points.
yeah,
it's pretty good going.
Most of the grid already. To be honest, I don't see Cadillac scoring anytime soon because they were a long way off.
Yeah, I don't
as
see Aston Martin
expected.
scoring.
But Aston Martin will score at some point. I'm sure of it.
Okay.
Well, just how positive
I
everyone's
mean, I
being,
put Alonso
despite
10th in the championship, so I'd probably,
exactly.
should
So
back that up a bit more.
yeah, Williams weren't great, but I think they'll sort it out when the weight's off. And then who else? That's it,
all
isn't
the
it? 3
teams. That's all the teams. Yeah.
Yeah, so Gasly did well, especially with the broken front wing because he had a bit of damage from the crash with Ocon.
It was only a tiny bit, though, wasn't it?
And you can't change front wings this year, which is
No,
mad, because
Williams ran into this, didn't they?
You
Took
can
them,
change front wings, but it takes 20 seconds.
Yeah, bizarre.
Because there's some other cables for obviously the active aero on the front. You've got
What you want is Wi-Fi. For your wing.
Yeah, Bluetooth front wing.
Yeah. I don't believe there's anything in the rules that would ban that. I'm pretty certain.
They should do it.
You can
You
change.
should,
Yeah.
You should work for R&D
Fair enough. I'll work for just research and development, just generally.
for an F1 team.
Yeah, maybe I could. If there's any F1 teams listening and they want me down as part of their R&D team, I would consider it. I mean, yeah, obviously, like we said, first race of all new regs, JB. There's obviously a bit more excitement going in. It was a decent race. I want to have a quick look, actually. Because I put a poll out yesterday on the channel. How did people rate this race in the end? We should try and do more fan interaction this year.
We should. If you're a fan, interact with us, comment,
Exactly,
and
yes.
respond to the polls that Matt puts out on the community page.
So 57% of people thought George Russell would claim the pole. I then did forget to do one for the race. I apologise. 64. So obviously, annoyingly now, YouTube changed the way their system works that you can't do 1 through 5 stars anymore. You only get 4 options. So I run a bad, neutral, good, and great. 64% of people said the race was good, which I
Yeah, I
think
would
is
agree
fair.
with that. Yeah, out of 5-star, I'd give it like a
A
3.5.
3.5. Yeah. Which is basically exactly kind of where I would rank good as on a scale of
Yeah.
1 to 5.
Yeah, exactly. So it was good. I'm positive because Australia should be one of the worst tracks for recharging. So
But it also, therefore, is probably one of the best tracks for on-track action.
I don't know, because at places like China, where recharge in theory should be easier, you can just be a bit more
But
normal
every
with the
single
deployment.
overtake is just going to come out onto the back straight.
But I disagree. If someone gets done into the back straight, they could just use their boost down to turn 1, possibly. And like that kind of thing. And if someone, I guess you wouldn't want to go for an overtake into the snail section, would you? Because then you're just going to get done on the back straight. But if you were feeling bold, you could definitely do it into turn 6. You could do it out of turn 6. Like, it will catch people off guard if you use your boost in a weird place.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of like.
I guess
It's a bit
the other
like
big
Kurz.
thing, of course, is we're still not entirely sure how well the cars are going to stick behind each other.
They
'Cause
did a
that might
pretty
be
good
the
job at it.
Obviously, Australia, though, is quite an easy track to stick behind
Yeah.
the car in front, though, isn't it? But I guess, obviously,
is.
that, like you said, with the move at turn 6, that might be quite good if you know the car behind then can't follow you, kind of behind through 7,
Through the
8.
next section, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, most of Shanghai is horrible to try and stick behind the car in front, isn't it? But it will be interesting. So, I mean, obviously, we like to run our race ratings slightly differently, don't we, Jamie? We like to run a score out of 10, which you keep tabs off for us.
I actually will keep tabs on it this year because I didn't even bother last year.
No,
so
good man.
Apologies for that.
I'm going to give it a 6.5. No, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I'm going to be less cynical this year.
I'll give it a 6.5 then.
Okay, Jamie's going to be the cynical one instead.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't want to go too hard because was it 2024 we were started rating the first 5 races like 6
one of the
and
races
7s out of
early
10.
on. Yeah, got quite.
And then it
decent
turned
rating.
into a banger of a season, and we were like, "Oh, Japan definitely wasn't a 7 out of 10."
Yeah, nothing happened.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want your quiz?
Yeah, well, I mean, quiz.
Because this was, of course, the first opening round with the Mercedes 1-2 since they said it all
2019.
the time. 2019, exactly.
Yes.
So you have got to name me the point scorers from the 2019 Australian Grand Prix.
And I assume if I get one wrong, I'm out.
Yes, indeed.
So obviously,
There's no
Bottas,
time limit.
Hamilton.
Correct.
I believe Verstappen scored.
He did. He was on the podium.
He was on the podium. I thought he was. Vettel.
Yes.
Yeah. Where was he? 4th?
4th. He's going in order so far.
Yeah, wonderful. Therefore, I'm going to say Leclerc 5th.
Yes.
Yeah. I know obviously Ricciardo had an absolute stinker, lost his wing on lap 1. So I don't think he scored. I'm going to assume Hulkenberg scored, because he always does in Australia, apart from
Correct.
this year.
P7, as always.
Yeah. Haas weren't that good this year. Because that was the Rich Energy year. So I think because they did really well in 2018. I think until they had tyre issues.
Yeah, they were doing well in 2018.
Yeah, but I don't think they did that well in 2019, so I'm going to ignore them for a moment. I guess Sergio Perez for Racing Point.
Incorrect. He was
That's a
13th.
shame. That's a shame.
There you go. Haas didn't do that well apart from Australia when Kevin Magnussen finished 6th.
19? Wow.
Yeah. He got 20 points all season, but 8 of them were in round 1.
Eight of them were literally. But it's
So-
always the Haas way, isn't it? Australia, Austria, Austin. It's just
Yeah.
always the Osts that they do quite well.
Exactly. I did think you'd struggle because it's a really weird second half of the top 10 in this race. So, unfortunate. But yeah, Kevin Magnussen 6th. Hulkenberg 7th in the Renault.
Yeah.
Kimi Raikkonen 8th in the Alfa Romeo.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Lance Stroll 9th in the Racing Point.
Wow.
And then Danny Kvyat in 10th in the Toro Rosso.
Okay, fair. I did. Danny
So-
Kvyat did cross my line, but it was only if I got really desperate down towards the bottom of the pack.
A bit
But
like
I
Rebel
wouldn't have
Racing's
guessed
approach
any
to
of
him
those guys over Perez.
in the last 5 years of the 2010s. Just go to Kvyat when you're desperate. That's it.
Exactly. Go to Coulthard in the early 2000s. Go to Kvyat at the end of the 2010s. That is a knowing wheel rule, apparently now. Driver of the day, Jimmy 183. There's definitely some shout outs in there, isn't there?
Yeah. obviously George Russell just did what he needed to do.
Yeah. Antonelli,
Leclerc, I
after a
think,
bad
drove-
start, decent recovery.
Yeah.
Charles Leclerc. Hamilton seemed to be back as well, dare I
You
say.
can't give Hamilton it.
I'm not giving Hamilton it, but I'm just...
He qualified and finished behind his teammate, so it was good. It was positive signs, but he was still worse than Leclerc.
My point was that Hamilton did better than he probably would have done last year, which is he enjoyed the race as well. He got out of the car at the end. It was like, I wish it was going on longer, which is a great sign.
Yeah. And he was communicating properly with his engineer.
Well, trying to. They might still struggle with that a bit, but he was trying to. Verstappen, obviously good drive from the back. Ollie Behrman, best of the rest. Lindblad, great debut. Bortoletto, points for Audi.
Literally everyone in the top 10.
Yeah, with the exception of maybe, like we said, Hamilton probably obviously can't get it. Norris even can't get it. Gasly, I would argue as well, probably could have done better, but didn't do badly.
I will give it to Max Verstappen.
Okay. Well, for the sake of ease, I'm going to say George Russell. Pole position,
Okay.
race win. Did he get fastest lap?
No, Verstappen got fastest lap.
Verstappen got fastest lap. Fair enough. But 25 points on the board for George Russell. So we'll try and keep tabs of who we give driver of the day to each weekend.
Exactly.
Predictions recap,
real
JB.
quick. Yeah, you did quite well at this, I think, because you went first.
Yes.
So you said George Russell would get pole position.
2 points.
2 points. You said George Russell would win.
2 points.
2 points. You said Antonelli would be second place.
2 points.
And you said Lewis Hamilton.
I was so
you-
I was so close to the perfect score.
You actually were as well. And yeah,
I was half a second away.
During the first stint, I was getting a bit excited because I said, obviously, Leclerc
You
on pole,
did,
no
yeah,
points
and I
for
was
that.
thinking about this at 4:30 in the
Charles
morning.
Leclerc to win the race, which I thought was actually going to happen at one point until Ferrari's strategy got involved.
You should never believe in Ferrari.
George Russell second, and Max Verstappen third. So I got 2 points overall,
I
which is
got
not good.
6.
So it's 6-2.
Dominant.
So,
Absolutely
but I get to go first, which means I can predict a Mercedes 1-2 in China. So
Exactly, yeah, and obviously it's a sprint weekend, so there's an extra 2 points available.
Yeah, it was all part of the plan.
Exactly, yeah, Jamie's master plan. Who won? You did win last year, didn't you?
I
in the
won
end?
easily,
I got
yes.
desperate towards the end. Have we got anything else to add, Jamie? I think we've wrapped up everything we needed to.
Yeah, I think we've done quite well.
Wonderful. Obviously, we'll be back Thursday then with the Shanghai preview show. Of course, like we said, first sprint weekend of the year. So always a little bit of intrigue, a little bit of excitement with that. Can Hamilton go 2 sprint wins in a row out in Shanghai? Only time will tell. Will he have an illegal car this year? Only time will tell. Thank you all, though, as always, so much for listening. Let us know your thoughts and feelings from the Australian Grand Prix down in the comments below. And yeah, we'll be back later on this week then. Well, not out at Suzuka, but back to preview.
It's not Suzuka anyway.
It's not. It's Shanghai even. Back to preview the Shanghai, the Chinese Grand Prix.